Senator Hunt, you're recognized to speak.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm not trying to take a bunch of time on this bill. I guess after we get past this IPP motion, there will be more time, so I can make more points at that time too. But one thing I wanted to say to my constituents and say to my colleagues here is that let's notice the pattern of how Nebraska voters keep making their voices heard at the ballot box, and every time, most of the time, usually, lawmakers here in the legislature find a way to either walk it back or reverse it or do the bare minimum to implement it. And that's not how democracy is supposed to work. When the voters say we want paid sick leave, we want a higher minimum wage, we want to legalize medical cannabis, we want fair policies for working families, whatever it is, it's the legislature's job to implement the will of those voters in good faith, not gut it, delay it, rewrite it, or change it to benefit big corporations. If lawmakers put half as much effort into helping working families as they do undermining ballot initiatives, Nebraska would be a better place for everyone. And it's not just about paid sick leave, it's a pattern. Voters pass something and then the legislature scrambles to weaken it, delay it, or override it altogether in some cases. And if you respect democracy, you need to respect the will of the people. When voters pass a measure, that should be the final word. It shouldn't be an invitation then for lawmakers and really the lobbyists who are behind the work that we do here as term-limited senators. Many of us chosen from a small group of mentally ill individuals who are most willing to do the bidding unquestioningly of the people who fund us, becoming increasingly so. Boy, I got 100 examples of that we can talk about. But when we do that, we're not representing the will of the voters that sent us here, and it's insulting to their intelligence. We are not sending our best, I'll say that. Some problems I have with the amendment that we're not yet on, but we're going to eventually get to. The amendment that we're going to be speaking about that replaces the bill, it's a step backward for Nebraska workers. It exempts way too many employees, including independent contractors, seasonal workers, young workers, leaving some of the most vulnerable Nebraskans without access to paid sick leave, which is what the voters voted for. Paid sick leave should apply to everybody, not just the select few. And I know as a business owner, I support paid sick leave because it's good for families, it's good for Nebraska, and at the end of the day, it's good for business. We don't need government interference rolling back what voters already approved. We need stability, we need clear rules, and we need policies that actually help small businesses compete. When people say they want paid sick leave, it's because they know it makes our workforce and our economy stronger. And what we're going to be doing with LB 415 and the subsequent amendments with it, it doesn't clarify the law, it doesn't clarify what voters asked us to come in here and do, it weakens it. And Nebraskans deserve better. Paid sick leave isn't just about fairness, it's about keeping businesses running smoothly. Because workers who come in, who have to come in sick, they spread illness to coworkers and customers. That leads to lost productivity, it leads to higher turnover, it leads to lost wages and revenue. Just think about what it's like here in the legislature. You know, there's a joke when you send your kids to school at the beginning of the school year, everybody in the household gets a cold for like a month. Everyone's sick because you're just reacclimating to all the germs. Colleagues, Nebraskans, it's the same thing in here. When we start our session in January, immediately we're dropping like flies because we're getting each other sick. And especially even in this, not even post-COVID, but still in this era of some kind of questionable hygiene practices that we have in here, people are not looking out for each other. And that's why things like paid sick leave are so important. We see that in practice, and we see that more than ever after this COVID era. This bill undermines voters, expands government interference, and it gives big businesses an unfair advantage. It weakens the workforce. And Nebraskans spoke loud and clear in November. It's not our job to override them. It's our job to implement their decision in a responsible way. Thank you, Mr. President.